Guess we do have it right. Good day, folks. Welcome back to another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall and the DMV. Today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest myths, and it's the biggest myth in real estate. What is that myth? Passive income. You've heard the line 1,000 times. Buy a rental property and just collect checks in your sleep. Oh boy, I heard. Sounds great, doesn't it? But here's the truth. Real estate can be wonderful, especially for building wealth, but it's far from passive. Far from passive. In 2025, with interest rates hovering around 6.4%, repair costs climbing, and tenant challenges piling up, real estate is more like running a business than clipping coupons. Today, we're breaking down what's really behind the passive label and how you can succeed if you're ready to work, at least ready for some work. First up, dreams versus reality. Yes, real estate appreciates. Yes, real estate appreciates. There's no doubt about that. We've been really able to see this within the last 5 years. Prices are up about 1.4% year over year. And rental checks come in. Trust me, rental checks come in. But here's what the Instagram gurus do not show you. The average turnover cost for a tenant is about 1750. 1750. Taxes, insurance, maintenance eat into your yield. And in many metro areas, landlords are netting 2 to 4%, while REIT investors are seeing 6 to 7%. Wait a minute. What? Marcellus, wait. So investors that are using the RIT, and look that up, RIT investments are possibly yielding more than an actual landlord. And guess what? They don't have to deal with unclogged toilets at midnight. Might want to check into that, folks. Now I'm big on real estate, but might want to check into that. Because see what we have to remember getting into business and what we're trying to do when we're building wealth, we're trying to get to a goal. What's the simplest way to that goal? And the question is always going to be, do you want to have to unclog toilets? So, Mr. Mika, if you're watching this, I don't know how many years ago it was, but in a rental property I had in Baltimore City, I had exterminator come out. And when the exterminator came out, they put traps all through the house. Well, I received a call from Miss Shamika about 12 a.m. because she wasn't going to get no sleep. And because she wasn't getting no sleep, Marcellus wasn't getting no sleep. Well, apparently her cat had a had a mouse trap stuck to its tail. Mr. Mika, you remember that if you see this? Had it, and the lady I was with at the time didn't understand. I had to get up at 12 o'clock at night to go help Mr. Mika. She didn't understand it. But meanwhile, I don't even know what I'm going to do because I got to go and help Mr. Mika get a glue trap off of a cat. And she's going to get mad with me, but no, nobody know Mr. Mika but me. They don't. They, I had to go do it, or somebody had to do it because they running around away from the cat. The cat running to them with the trap on on the tail, and running they running from the cat. So guess what? They wasn't gonna get no sleep at that night because if the cat slept in the bed or if they were right close, intimate with the cat, they weren't going to do it with this trap stuck to its tail. So guess what? Marcellus had to go, and somehow I got the, I don't know how, but somehow I got the trap off the cat, and everybody was able to go to sleep. Airbnb. I've seen posts with occupancy as has dropped 50%. Wait a minute, what? The overnight sensation success passive income situation where folks did what? They got a sublease somehow. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I'm just going to talk here. They got a sublease somehow on a property and leased it out at a daily rate rather than a monthly rate to other people, especially folks traveling into your area. These folks are said now to be considered as they became unpaid hotel managers. Wow, stuff goes up and come down, man. You can go up and it can come down. Like people have to really understand. Like the world is like that. Everybody they go up and come down. The person that you think that's you know got money rolling in can be down one day. Everybody heard of people that watch. They've heard of the Dame Dash story, right? You can be up and you can be down one. Don't mean he's out, but you can be up and you can be down one day. And been kind of some of these real estate stories. I believe the Airbnb, they're really having a major problem down in Florida. So the allure is real, but the math changes fast once you factor in everything. I tell people it's not passive, it's active investing. You either work in the business or you hire people to work in it. But somebody's going to work. Another quick little story. I know a landlord right now, not right now, but it happened years ago. And this is a little off the subject of numbers, but this, can you imagine to be a landlord and you're trying to get evict a tenant and you go to court and the tenant spit in your face? Yeah. I know a landlord that happened to. personally. Tenant spit in our face. Now, we won't say that maybe the landlord deserved that. I don't know. But think about that. Does that sound like passive income to you? Sound like active to me, because sound like somebody was about to maybe get a whooping and some charges pressed, right? Now let's talk about tenant and repairs. Let's get back there. The real heartbeat of why real estate is not passive. 93% of property managers report dealing with rental fraud. Nearly 1 in 5 landlords last year had damages over $5,000. Over $5,000. And with more evictions happening, tenant quality is the #1 concern for 2025. You hear what I said? Tenant quality is the #1 concern for 2025. And I'm gonna give you folks today a note. And I can't believe that tenants out there still doing this, but they are. They raise their hand and they say, anybody know a private landlord? I laugh every time I see Facebook posts with people on there asking for private landlords. The worst thing you can do is ask for a private landlord. When you ask for a private landlord to people who understand and they know, that means that you're if it's you, you're a problem, right? There's a reason why you're asking for a private landlord. And most people are asking for private landlords because private landlords did not use, at one time, they did not do a full background credit check on folks. Not a whole lot anymore. And then if you're asking for a private landlord, you're asking for problems. You know you are. You know you are. You need a place to stay. I appreciate and understand, but you know you're asking for a problem. And in 1999, I believe it was, I ran into a private landlord. He hasn't He had just got a first property probably after a couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 years. He hadn't really been in the game. And he took me to a property up in Emerson Village in Baltimore and showed me the property and told me exactly what he was about to do. Now, mind you, around this time, they got real heavy on lead certificates, etc. But you know what this guy told me he was going to do? He was going to buy that brown or black paint or whatever color paint, and he was going to paint the floors. Right? Why you gonna put carpet down? Why they going to buy the new waterproof floors that you all have in y'all places now? He's gonna paint the floors. That landlord right there is exactly what you get when you ask for a private landlord. Yeah, they're private, all right. Mm. If you're in Section 8 housing, for example, there are great benefits, but you've got to build relationship with inspectors and stay on top strict compliance. That's not passive. Let's go there. I have $100,000 strategy just for landlords for Section 8, first off. Um, and we said something real big here. Stay in relationship with inspector. Well, one of the properties I purchased years ago, probably around 99 or somewhere around that, 2000, somewhere in that range. Um, I purchased a property that had tenants in it. Worst thing I ever done was a turnkey with tenants in it. The reason being is that the way the gold in that deal was the fact that when I purchased, I started receiving rent the very like 5 days later. We closed on the 25th on the 1st. I changed all the information for Section 8, and money started coming to me like clockwork. Well, the problem that we found out in that property is we found how bad some investors, handymen, and contractors were. Um, I didn't I didn't have to, as an investor, we don't really do inspections. We walk through and make sure that everything's good. We eyeball so we can get the deal. We 9 times out of 10, most investors aren't really paying an inspector. Some do, but most don't, especially in the earlier days. Um, but I found out the hard way that behind my stove, there was a hole in the wall. My kitchen looked nice. My brand new walls, my brand new sheetrock walls and everything, all that was good, but behind the stove was completely open, right? But I had no reason to check behind there in a sense because of what I had in front of me, and then what it was meeting my goal. I put my down payment and I received my money every month, and I was putting in my pocket from that rental about $500 a month. Now, give or take, I may have put $200 or so aside out of that 500. So let's say 300. Still a good return on decent return on your money. Some people are out here renting properties and maybe making $200 net. But in a nutshell, Section 8, know your notice that get close with this Section 8 inspector, and also know the tenant's worker just like they know them. That's my $100,000 play. Well, um, want more information on that, you're gonna have to pay for the rest of my playbook because yeah, it's coming soon for sale. Um, that's not passive, right? And repairs material costs are up double digits, right? Double digits. A leaky roof or a busted HVAC can wipe out months of cash flow instantly. Instantly, folks. I personally had a very, very bad situation. Bed bugs. That bed bug treatment at one of my properties started me out, especially around this time. It was a big epidemic, and folks were running around just saying that they know how to do bed bug treatments. And I got a guy offline or something. That guy came, say that he learned on the internet that all you needed was a steam cleaner. He charged me $2,000 and then came in and start steam cleaning and stuff. Ain't do nothing. And then I had to call, shout out to Hobbs. I had to call my man Hobbs Pest Control, and cost me a little bit more money, but Hobbs helped me out. So if you little quick ad for you, if anybody's looking for pest control management in the DMV, Hobbs, Marshall Hobbs, if you're watching, put a comment with your number in. Um, yeah, that right there, that's stuff that you don't really hear about. And this isn't to scare people away, man. It's to prepare you. If you're ready for the hustle, trust me, the rewards are still there. I'm not telling you that the rewards are not there. And finally, the market itself is shifting, right? Inventory has been frozen. There's barely 3% growth is projected this year, and the year's almost done. So vacancies can last longer than before. I just had a rental listing in Northeast Baltimore. I think we're like 90 days on the market, and it's a very decent place. Probably only had one or two people reach out with interest. One person put it in an application, and then they found something else in another area that they were more interested in. Rent growth is flat on the coast, but still climbing in parts of the Southwest. That means you got to be active in your pricing strategy. So that's another thing about that unit that took 90 days. I went with I advised wrong. I went with the higher rent because I also knew that the owner could probably appreciate the higher rent because what he was getting before was on the very low end. Well, going after the higher, I believe that also would contribute to the 80, 90 days on the market. So you really got to be active in your pricing strategy when you're renting. You really can't just set it and forget it. Real estate right now is like playing chess. Oh boy, it's it's really like playing chess, folks. Trust me. Every move has to be intentional. You have to make moves that make sense. And see, folks may not understand, even though, and this is a scenario I'll bring up, even though uh, it may be tough to hold on to a property and not rent the property. Let me explain to you. Let me give you some understanding. In my opinion, and please put your opinion in the comments, it is cheaper, especially if you own a property free and clear, to keep that property secure, maintain it clean, grass cut, etc. Maybe put somebody in to stay in a room to keep the place secure, than to rent the whole house out, and in 6 months they stop paying you and they're destroying the house. And when you go to take them out now, it costs you $20,000 or so to get it back up to par so that you can put it on the market. And then let's say the market is not even ready for that property right now, because like we're dealing with higher interest rates, etc. What will that do to you? Right? So the mindset, if you round folks like that, you have to ask questions, right? So you can have a true understanding. It's not what people think this, oh, I'm going, I got a house, I'm going to rent it. No, that's why people don't jump into that, because they don't want the headache. They got to manage the people, they got to fix stuff, they got to go back in after you spend, let me tell you, one townhouse in Baltimore turnover, I think we mentioned it earlier, is 1750. I'm gonna say about $2,500, right? And even that is on the cheap end, because you think, if that means that you may have to go in there and paint the place yourself, and if they didn't break anything mechanical, so you have to be very careful what you're thinking, or when you see somebody, man, they just holding on to that property. What are they doing? Why they not renting it? Because renting is more risky. If anybody out there understands me, put it in the comments. Renting is more risky than holding a property, hoping that things change. It's tough because you're spending your own money, you're spending your wheels in a sense, and you might not like it, but your dad going sure will not like putting a tenant in your property. 6 months later, they don't pay you to the rest of the 6 months. Now how you feel? And now when you go back in to that house, it don't look nothing like it did when you went to go rent to those folks. So ask questions. You see somebody doing something like that, ask questions for understanding, and don't just be thinking, because a lot of people don't know real estate. They're not going to understand that's why that person might be doing that, although it's costing them money, etc. Well, it's less money than if you put somebody in there today and the first of the month comes and they don't pay, and then it takes 60 days or more to get them out. Now what? What's more expensive? You know, especially if you don't have a mortgage. If you have, even if you have a mortgage, maybe if small enough, if it's small enough, it makes sense. If it's too big, then no, of course, you're going to have to try to do something, right? But if it's small enough for you to maintain without really killing your whole, your income and your little economy, that you, you got to do something that makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to other people. And and look, the top 1% does everything that doesn't make sense to other people. That's why most people work for the top 1%, right? Think about that, folks. So again, every move has to be intentional, from how you market the rental to how you handle the renewals to whether you diversify into short-term rentals or stick with traditional leases. Now, DC got pushed away from it. Really hurt some landlords in DC. They can't really do short-term rentals right now because DC is trying to make sure that the rentals go to the low and moderate income folks, not to these tourists that come in town for rentals. So that that kind of messed those folks up in DC as well, that are doing this, we're doing the short-term rentals. So folks, what's the takeaway? Tell you the takeaway. Real estate is wonderful. I'm not saying it's not. It builds equity. It can create long-term wealth, and it can give you control over your financial future. But passive, that's a myth. The smartest investors build systems, property managers, virtual assistants, maintenance crews, so that the day-to-day handled, so that the day-to-day is handled, right? So that things are taken care of the day-to-day. So just like if you're trying to get to the 1%, you got to hire people. That can make it semi-passive, but there's still going to be some, yeah, it'll make, okay, quick story on that note. I know a few people hired property managers and they moved out of state and they pretty much had to do way more work than maybe what they would have had to do if they were managing the property themselves. And we all know about that. If you've owned a business and you've hired people, you know, it you got to go through some people to get some good people. We deal with that in dating, don't we? But make no mistake, real estate is a business, and a business takes work. I want to hear from you folks. I'm not going to be able to say it now. I'm still trying to figure out this whole thing with being able to see comments and all of that stuff. In the comments, do you still believe real estate can be passive income? Yes or no? Drop a comment. Explain to me why. Send me a message. I wish I had a poll link so that I could get a poll. And please make sure you subscribe. Share this video with somebody that's thinking about getting into real estate as an investor. So my next episode, we may dive into, and I'm gonna see if I can get somebody to talk about those REITs, those REITs, and other um, alternatives. It's like a stock. That way I can give you some help with getting some really hands-off type of options that could help you Not to, you still may want to get some hands-on real estate, but how about if you can take some of the money and throw it over here, and it can make you truly passive income. Invest smart, folks. Invest smart. Have some true understanding to exactly what you're getting yourself into. Don't just let it be because you just got some money, you need to put some money somewhere. Make it that you go and get the resources that are needed to make a sound decision. And now you have that money so that when the opportunity shows itself, you can make a sound move. Don't allow everything you hear from the gurus, you can get educated by the gurus, but you need to make an educated guess from the information that they give you on exactly what will work for you. Don't allow anybody to force you into something that sounds good, but won't be good after you put your money in. And say, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you you're a business owner. You don't have time to manage these properties. You thought you were getting into something that makes some passive income. This might not be it, right? This might not be it. So I thank you again for checking in. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button, share, and I'll see you next week. Thanks again. Another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall in the DMV, and I'm signing off.